I mean, like, if you're going to be able to babble, what would you do if you? I'm just saying. Listen, it's my podcast, okay? It's my podcast. You just gotta deal with it, bitch. Sorry. Hello. Hi there. My name is Justy. Welcome to episode, I think it's 33 of Within the Flesh. You know what? Let me go ahead and go take a little look-see. I believe it's episode 33. I don't think I've done a different episode. Yeah, episode 33. Episode 33 of the podcast, everybody. Um Today we will be discussing two concepts, two ideas, and I believe some of it may reflect even some of the uh, people I know, as well as my server. And those two little blips of knowledge you may know of is mimicry, the chameleon effect, right? Right? Stick with me. And parasocial relationships. We'll be discussing both of those, as well as how they kind of connect to each other, at least within my server, you know? I thought this was kind of a cool concept. I'm gonna be honest. Uh, some of it I've picked up, or like, I was like, oh, I heard this used quite a bit when describing uh, people in my server. Specifically, I heard some of the people in my server are parasocial, and I'd like to discuss maybe some of that. I had to look it up to be like, what the fuck does this even mean? Like, I know what mimicry is, right? And I feel like in some aspects, I do it quite a bit of like a chameleon type of thing. Um, and I don't know. There's really no like negative or positive, you know what I mean? Kind of just a neutral thing that you do. Whereas I think parasocial might be pretty bad, maybe? I don't know. I decided to go ahead and use the Gemini Google AI bot to help me with the script. It's got some wonderful prompts right there for me. I decided I would go ahead and answer any podcast questions at the beginning now instead of at the end. I know I was kind of doing that before to be like, I'm going to go ahead and make people listen all the fucking way through my podcast if they want to hear any QA. But I think it's better to just do that so that way I don't forget in the end. Um, so if you give me just a moment, I will go ahead and load up the question on my device, my cellular phone. Um, yeah, I would say these are some good topics, in my opinion. Like, I kind of read through some of this to be like, well, let's see if it actually did uh, talk about anything interesting or anything that would be good for me to discuss by myself. Uh, I think some of them I can really, bibble babble about and be like, if you think about it, like, let's think about the core concept of this whole situation, you know? You'll have to give me just a moment. My phone is very slow. Slow po po pe po po. Let's see. All right, here we are. We have some podcast questions. All right. This one is from Bin, and from what I'm seeing, it's the only podcast question. How much brain rot does it take to morally corrupt someone, and how would you go about doing it? So, first off, I think that's going to be quite a bit of a topic in this podcast, given the mimicry and the parasocial. I think it fits into that, but I think brain rot, and for those who don't know what I mean by brain rot, I mean in more of the sense of like, it's kind of like a sludgeoning effect on your brain. where people often repeat the same phrase, or it's basically what I would call a loss of independence, right? And like a major influence of someone else's, uh, I suppose, I guess I wouldn't really call it symptoms, more like someone else's uh, phrases or their behaviors, which I believe is the parasocial part that I'll be discussing. And I'm going to admit, I'm not being like, oh, I'm such a genius. I came up with the whole mimicry and parasocial topics for today all by myself. I kind of sneaked a peek at that question. I was like, you know what? That would be a good thing to address. But what's a more professional way of calling it out? Huh. Mimicry and parasocial behaviors, right? um, yeah, I think it really depends on the relationship you have with the people, that you're around. I think for some people, I think it's a little bit of that, but also a little bit of your own independence as a person and how you wish to fit in with others. I think a lot of people will just like kind of uh, take in that brain rot and be like, oh, this is good. I like this. I can relate with this. Like, I know that a lot of people in my server, uh, I'll say like little phrases on streams or something, and then I'll go into my server and people will just be repeating it or kind of regurgitating it, I would say. Uh, just basically because it's such a small little phrase. I think that's where you hit the brain rot like really specifically. It's, I don't know if you've ever watched like TV shows like that. Like, oh no. I'm trying to think of any TV shows where the humor is just so repetitive with only like a slight variation. I guess you could uh like compare it to pudding, or sludge or something like that. Like there's only a minimal amount of difference and you don't mind scarfing it down each time. There's that small, there's like a big amount of resistance, but it eventually degrades. It's like corrosion, I suppose. Like brain rot. I think that's like the what my server, what we call it. It's just brain rot because it feels like your brain is not functioning as it should be. It is slowly deteriorating from like an optimal point, and you are becoming more susceptible, sorry, to you know different. I don't know. It's kind of like weird, not really different ideas or thoughts, but it's more of just, I don't know. It's like neutral or something. It's kind of like, I don't know. You know how we have like the sun's particles passing through us each and every day, but we don't feel anything, but it might affect us a little bit or some shit like that. I don't know. I might be spewing out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure I read something about that. Uh, it's not direct issue. It's just something that you kind of find yourself in. In terms of like increasing brain rot, though, sorry for that whole rambling. I could have probably summed that up with, um, what was it? Sorry. Let me reread the question. I want to make sure I'm precise. How much brain rot does it take to morally corrupt someone? Okay, so for precision's sake, sorry for the whole rambling before, but to be very precise, to morally corrupt someone, I would think it really relies on how much they value their morals and how much what you're suggesting goes against it, right? Like, you could be, I don't know. I think everyone doesn't support cannibalism, right? They view it as a very brutish or grotesque manner. And I don't know. I feel like it's something that people don't feel too strongly about. But if you make a repetitive kind of joke about it, like, I don't know, maybe if you introduce some kind of media that's like relatable, like, I don't know, maybe it could be someone fucking ripping off someone's leg and taking a bite, and you could just shout out, "That should have been me," or something like that, right? People get a good laugh out of that, right? It's a simple little phrase. It's like, I can relate that phrase to the media that I saw, right? It may be something I don't agree with the media, but I like the joke, right? Then you can just apply that to anything within the future as long as it somewhat fits, right? So it could be someone like, I don't know, someone ragdolling, and you could be like, that should have been me, right? And the relation of some kind of physical violence along with that phrase reignites that whole, you know, thought process of, oh yeah, that was from the cannibalism moment. I remember all the way back to that. Ha, good times, right? And you just keep doing that. And I feel like you could morally fuck someone up, you know, really change their opinions. I don't know. Apparently, someone in my server has, you know, they're very new to the server, and they're like, yeah, I feel much more cynical now. So there's got to be something there, right? Maybe it's accepting that behavior. You know what I mean? Like if you see other people accepting that behavior, right? And it's not too much of an egregious one, maybe you can be like, huh, maybe it's not as bad as I feel like it is, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example. It's kind of like doxing, right? I don't think anyone likes to get doxed. In fact, it would terrify me. But I feel like if you have someone in your server or in your life who you like for the most part, but they dox people, the pluses of that character outweigh the negatives. And eventually, you don't really associate that that person is doxing people, right? You just assume the good stuff with the slight caveat of the negative. So I feel like that's how you would do that. Um, how would you go about doing it? Yeah, again. So to summarize that, uh, just apply that brain rot as an acceptance, right? Have people join in on it, right? I know that one of the ones that have been going around lately is what the fuck, right? It's a simple phrase and it's kind of just brain rot. It's a whatever reaction, you know? But you repeat it enough and you associate it with enough funny moments, people will start to do it themselves. So that's that's the answer I give. Sorry for the rambling. Apologies, everybody. Um, but that does kind of lead into some of the stuff that I'm seeing over here. Like exactly the whole parroting thing. The Gemini says mimicry, the chameleon effect in action. What it is, mimicry, also known as the chameleon effect, is the subconscious tendency to imitate the behaviors, mannerisms, and even speech patterns of others we interact with, right? Why we do it. Theory suggests that it helps build rapport, empathy, and creates a sense of connection. Mimicking can also be a sign of respect or admiration. Isn't that disgusting? I know that on my channel, on my stream, sometimes I'll say, fuck those people, or I'll say, that's a JE moment, right? Some outlandish, like crazy, wild things, right? Could you imagine anyone who repeats those or says that stuff? And it's like, you must really respect or admire me if you're repeating that behavior and or speech pattern. I think a good example of that is how some people will imitate Chris Chan's dialect, be like, "I tell you right now that I do not appreciate any of the trolls online." You know, it's a very odd kind of way of speaking. Maybe that's why they do it. It's more of a sense of making fun of rather than mimicry, right? And that's the thing as well, is that Google is a very friendly company. They're not going to tell you, like, oh yeah, maybe people are fucking imitating you because you're a lolcow, you know? And maybe uh that's the reason why people mimic me, is because it's a lolcow response, you know? Or something of that matter. Um I don't know, that's a tough one. See, there's this whole issue, right? Is that if I cover this and I explain it to people, I think it's a very big ruining the joke moment, right? Because it's such a brain rot issue in my server, right? That people just automatically do it and they don't really think about it. But if I explain it here, then they'll start to think about it each time something does happen, and then they won't do it. Therefore, I will lose that power over them, the power to create some kind of phrase and make it stick, you know? But I suppose that's the real question. Do we treat the cure, or sorry, do we treat the disease, or do we cure it, you know? I guess I'll just keep on doing it because, you know, why not? Better to discuss this and to kind of understand and maybe see why it happens than to just let it continue and possibly even worsen to the point where people are like, shut the fuck up, dude. I fucking hate this. Right? Um, let's read an example. Subtly mirroring someone's posture, crossing your legs when they do, adopting their speech patterns. Example, using slang or filler words, or unconsciously matching their smile or frown. Again, this is very like haunting, I would say. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like you did a bad action, right? And only you know about it. And then you have some doctor like coming in, or some investigator coming in and saying, "Hey, I know what you did, and here's exactly how you did it." This is like the moment in like a murder mystery when they fucking pull out all the stops and the investigator or the main protagonist is like, "Yes, you see, I will go ahead and detail why you did this," you know. Because I've seen this happen quite a few times in my server. I know that when I am in my Discord server, I will be talking with people, and sometimes I'll even put on my camera like now, right? And I know one of the things that I'll do is I'll go like that, make a silly little face in the camera, and if anyone else has their camera on, sometimes I'll see them do it as well, almost as if like, ah, I saw him do it, now it's my turn to go, you know. So it is a little shocking, you know, how much this is kind of true, you know. It's just weird, I suppose. Oh no. I think especially that whole adopting their speech patterns example, using slang or filler words. And I know that a lot of the time a lot of my filler words are like little small phrases like, you know, again, fuck those people, or do you think you or they had it coming? You know, just simple little phrases like that. And it really shows now that I'm reading this, and it's like, oh yeah, this is an actual thing that may happen with mimicry, right? It's like, oh damn, that's crazy. A little shocking as well. Um, I know in my previous group that I also did the chameleon effect. I think it was, what was it? Uh, I don't know. I think I feel like I was a little bit jaded. You know, I feel like I was pretty rude to people as well. not so much as like what I do now, which is being very cynical, much more of like a direct rudeness, like, being not accepting of people in the least bit, if they had even the slightest difference from me in personality, it's like, nope, nope, you know? And I know that for the speech pattern, um, I know that I used to hang out with a, what is it? I'm trying not to get banned on YouTube. Uh, I think you can just say gay. Yeah, I hung out with a gay guy, and the speech pattern is different. Or not speech pattern, but I don't know. What would you call it? Would it be speech pattern or would it be accent? But it's a very effeminate male tone of voice. Tone, that's what it is. Uh, a very effeminate male tone voice, right? And I know that if I go back and I listen to my streams, I can hear me doing that more like, yeah, this is so crazy, guys. Like, what's happened? What the fuck is going on? Right? It's much more lighter than it is currently. Because I believe I was doing the mimicry then, the chameleon effect to fit in, I suppose. Um, I don't know. That's very interesting. And I implore you, viewer, to think about any past friendships or relationships or anything like that where you feel like you may have mimicked the other person in those ways of someone's posture, crossing your legs or arms, adopting their speech patterns, or unconsciously matching their facial expressions. I feel like, I don't know. I guess I feel like the physical, you know, isn't as bad. I feel like that's a very on the face response. If I saw someone in real life, and they were like doing something kind of weird, I feel like I could just do that as well. It's kind of like when you yawn and someone else yawns, you know what I mean? Or you itch like your beard and maybe someone else will itch their beard, right? Monkey see, monkey do. But I feel like the part where it gets really creepy now that I'm kind of seeing this is that the adopting their speech pattern, you know, using slang or filler words in that way is like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. How much of one's person is their own? Are we all not just mimicking each other then at that point? Like what's the big difference at that point? I don't know. I kind of wonder, am I the originator of some things or am I simply just parroting someone else, you know? I know that I say wacky phrases and people copy that. I feel like I'm the originator of it, but maybe I've gotten that from someone else. Maybe I was watching like a YouTube video and someone said brown or something like that. And I was like, oh, brown. And then I passed that disease on to someone else. It's like AIDS. Let's see. The science. Studies have shown mimicry increases feelings of liking and trust between people. That's I don't know about that, man. That's kind of scary. Studies have shown mimicry increases feelings of liking and trust between people. Oh no, that's kind of I don't really believe in that too much. I feel like again it's just monkey see monkey do. You know? You just copy the behavior of others that you're around. It's not so much that you have to I don't know. I guess maybe it works like that. Like obviously it works like that, but more of the sense of like, you know, I guess you wouldn't really mimic someone you don't like, right? Like if someone was complaining constantly or something like that, you wouldn't really replicate their pattern of constantly complaining at someone or anything like that. Or if someone was like screaming in the microphone or something like that, you wouldn't mimic that if you didn't like it, right? So I don't know. I think it. goes back to the admiration. Let's see, the fucking bibble 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 bibble. Mimicking can also be a sign of respect or admiration. Like you'll always see like little kids, uh, whoever the big YouTuber is, they'll be mimicking them. Like I know that there was quite a few kids with me growing up, uh, that they would be like, top of the morning to you, top of the morning to you, right? It's because they probably admired that YouTuber, right? Or they'd say, hello everyone, my name is, oh no, that's interesting. A bonus point. People high in empathy are more likely to mimic. Here's why you unconsciously copy other people's mannerisms. I guess that makes sense, I don't like that feels like a nothing. That feels like a nothing point. Like thanks a lot. No duh people with more empathy are going to replicate emotions around them or phrases or anything like that. That's quite literally like the empath fucking ability to be like, I feel so strong about these emotions. I feel afflicted. You know, oh, that's interesting. Uh, we will get back into this topic when we connect this next topic with it, which is parasocial relationships, feeling close to distant figures. See, and I think, I don't know, because this is taking it more of like the happy way. Again, Google is a very happy company. It's very positive, feel good, right? So it's not going to go ahead and say parasocial. The reason why you're a fucking leech upon someone else. You know what I mean? Um, let's see what it is though. What it is a one sided relationship where a fan develops an intense connection with a media persona, celebrity, YouTuber, streamer, etc., despite not having a real time two-way interaction. For me, that kind of just sounds like infatuation. It's not really a parasocial relationship. I'm wanting like the parasocial relationship with friends and or people you hang out with, you know. That to me just sounds like infatuation. Like I don't know. I've experienced that myself though with artists that I follow on Twitter. Um I don't know. That's always so crazy though, isn't it? Like you'll just be sitting there and you'll be like, if only I could talk to this person, we would be like the best of friends, dude. We'd be freaking having so many good times without ever like interacting with those people. And you just feel it, like that's how I have felt before when I see some artist and I really like their art. I get like, and I think again, this goes back to infatuation. Sorry to repeat myself like that, but um, it that's basically it. Like you develop intense and strong feelings for someone that you may have barely even known for like a week or two, and then those feelings kind of die down, and you face the reality of it, and you kind of like, at least in my case, I was very infatuated with this one artist. Um, and I was like, oh, dude, we'd be like the best of pals, dude. We'd be drawing stuff left and right, making art. Whoa, bro. But eventually, I kind of got over those feelings, and it was less of like, oh yeah, we're gonna be hanging out every day, and it was more subdued. It was more like, oh, I still enjoy their art, but I at least can understand that these people are strangers and they probably have wildly different interests than what I have. And their personality is probably much different to what I'm, you know, who I am as a person. So there you go. Why it happens. Parasocials provide a sense of companionship, emotional fulfillment, and role models, especially for those who might feel isolated. See, now that's the juicy part that I want to get into, right? I feel like there has been some amount of parasocial behavior on my Discord server, right? And I feel like that's kind of the big kicker, right? I want to make a very rude comparison, and you can feel free to disagree with me, and it's perfectly normal to disagree with me, right? But I feel like some people are supposed to be used as sponges, or I guess it's kind of like a fucking vampire, you know? Or a leech. I think some people do not have those feelings of like independence or hope or positivity or anything like that inside of them. So it's like they have to leech onto someone else, like start sucking the feelings out of them in order for it to flow into the person who doesn't have those, right? And I'm using very negative terms when it comes to that. Terms that are like, dude, you can't say that. What the hell, man? You know? But in my eyes, that's how it feels. You know, I don't know. I don't want to sound like a asshole, but I kind of am. I could make it even worse, though. I could go ahead and say something like, I feel like in that situation, it is very much, I feel like I'm giving a lot of uh, that kind of emotion to other people. I am giving, rather than taking away from others. I am giving them, um, inspiration. I don't know. That's such a fucking like narcissistic thing to say. And I hate that I'm saying it, but I have to say it. Like, how do you say that without sounding like a fucking massive asshole? Being like, oh, I give people inspiration, don't you know? You know? I don't know. I'll just combine it with like a tragic backstory, and then it'll be okay that I say it. Um, Growing up, my mother had a lot of mental issues, you know, very much depression, very much bipolar, right? So I think because of that situation that I was put in as a young boy, I kind of grew up with the idea that I need to give other people the resources of positivity, hope, understanding, um, you know, the positive emotions, and that for me to take any of that away from someone else, like to be like, I'm having a really shit day, uh, what can I do, like maybe you should give me advice or anything like that. I feel like it's very selfish, and it shouldn't be because people interact with each other. That's just how life is. You are going to have bad days and you're going to have good days. You share the good days with people and you share the bad days with people. People, if they're there for you, they will be able to talk with you about your bad days, or if they're having a bad day, maybe you sharing that good attitude will lift them up, you know. But I don't know. I feel like there's a certain limit to it. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a limit to how much you're willing to give someone, the amount of positivity in your life, and how much you push on to people that um burden of negativity or depression or your own self issues. You know what I mean? Uh, What's the analogy that I used before? It was more of the sense of like, I feel like there's people who can self generate their positivity or their good attitudes. You know what I mean? I feel like those people are maybe starting to become more extinct, because of how much shit happens in the world every day. And then I feel like there's people who cannot generate that positivity on their own, so they must seek that out from other people in order to lift themselves up from that depression or that negative feeling that they have, right? Where in my eyes, I feel like everyone should be somewhat responsible for their own happiness and to make sure that they themselves can generate that for themselves, even like a tiny bit. You can't rely on other people to make your life happy. And I'm not gonna start doing like a fucking sigma male fucking moment where it's like you need to become self-productive. But I do feel like if you can't generate even the smallest amount of happiness for yourself without it being immediately squashed by the more negative side that you have, then what the fuck are you doing? You know? And I'm sorry to be so rude, but it's a very blunt issue of like, what are you doing? You know? Why are you? I don't know. Listen, I was about to say something really, really fucked. You know what? I'll go ahead and say it anyways. Why are you even alive? You know? Listen, don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not saying like you have to be cheery and happy all the time. That's not what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying that, oh, you can't generate your own happiness. Fucking die already, you know? But I don't know. It's such a dickhead thing to say. And how do you follow that up with anything? You can't really tell people, be happy. Some people just can't be happy. But again, at that point, it's like, what a horrible fucking life to live, you know? They say like get some kind of medication or go like balls to the walls crazy or some shit like that. Got to make some kind of change in your life or live that misery like forever, you know? I don't know. That's just how I see it. I'll go ahead and read some more parasocial shit. Sorry for going on a ramble there, but I feel like it kind of involves the parasocial behavior of having to depend on someone else. The rise of social media. See, and again, like this doesn't really relate to what I'm trying to discuss. So, kind of fucked on that point. Maybe I should have said personal parasocial behaviors or relationships, but maybe we can still salvage this. The rise of social media. Platforms like YouTube and Twitch allow for more intimate parasocial experience, blurring the lines between celebrity and fan. See, and again, like, you know, that doesn't really apply to what I'm trying to talk about. And in fact, if I go ahead and Google parasocial real quick, it already has a much better example for me. Parasocial relationships are psychological connections between a media user and media persona. Okay, well, oh, sorry, that was the AI generated one. This is the official YouTube, or not YouTube, the official Google one, and it links to an article. Parasocial relationships are one sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest, and time. The other party, the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. Boom, baby! That's exactly what I'm trying to talk about. Um, that kind of behavior, you know? Maybe I can throw that into the Gemini real quick, but I'll just leave it as is. Um, that's kind of what I was talking about. The emotional energy. I feel like a lot of people can't generate that themselves, therefore they take it from other people. If you can't generate it yourself, why are you even alive? You know, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. Such a asshole thing to fucking say, but I feel like sometimes it has to be said. You know, if you can't generate your own happiness, what the fuck? You know? Um, Potential drawbacks: unrealistic expectations of the persona, feeling emotionally invested in their personal lives, and neglecting real life relationships. See, again, that doesn't really help me out. Maybe I can type this out real quick. Just give me one moment. Psychology discussion around personal parasocial behavior. There you go. Hopefully it says, oh, okay, me understand. Good now. Diving deeper, the psychology of personal parasocial behavior. Beyond the basic definition, let's explore some interesting psychological aspects of personal parasocial behavior. Motivations for connections. Social needs. Parasocial relationships can fulfill social behavior. Oh, what the fuck? It said, hold up. Wait a minute. Responses have been highlighted because it was double checked. Okay. Anyways, social needs. Parasocial relationships can fulfill social needs for companionship, belonging, and validation, especially for those feeling lonely or isolated. Identity formation, admiration for immediate person. Again, we're going into the bullshit area, man. And platforms like streams and social media comments create an illusion of two-way communication. Even a simple like can feel like a personal response from the persona. It's funny because I felt that before. Like whenever I get a like from someone I follow, I'm like, yes, I did it. Me a big winner. Oh man, that's crazy. I don't know. I feel like we can also kind of take that, the whole bullshit that I'm getting versus what I'm wanting to talk about, and still use that. Because I've been in that position before where I believe it was on Twitch. Some girl would keep like talking to me and be like, "Yeah, I'm sad. Oh, I'm depressed today. Oh, I want to," right? Um, and it's almost as if they were depending on me to be like, "Oh, let's fucking get it rolling. Let's have a good time. I'm gonna cheer you up," right? It's almost like a dependency, right, upon someone else to deal with that, you know? And I think it's bad. Very, very bad, right? Bad for both people, if anything. I don't know. Discussion point. Sorry, let me read this real quick. Discussion point. Are parasocial relationships inherently negative? Can they be positive if they inspire or motivate fans? That's a good question, Gemini. I appreciate it. Um, Maybe not negative. I don't know. It really depends on the give and take ratio. I don't mind helping someone out as long as I feel like it will make a lasting impact of improvement, right? What kills me about parasocial behavior or relationships is that, uh, for an example, my mom, right? She's been used as an example before this. May as well do it again. But my mom has that kind of issue of like, I feel down, let me use you as my battery. Or I'm in a bad situation or something like that. I need your help to make me feel better because of my own choices that I've made to make me end up in this situation, right? And again, you know, maybe it's because she's my mom, but I try and help her. But the issue is that she doesn't take that advice to heart, and it's almost like she does a full 180 and then goes right back into the shit with like the same attitude and the same game plan. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to think of a very specific example or something like that, but I'm just not drawing anything. It maybe it's because it's been done so many times, but like I feel like some people, the people who are in a negative spot, they don't really want your advice. They don't want your help in that kind of aspect, right? It's kind of like on Christmas Day or your birthday, right? Someone gives you an item as a present rather than cash as a present, right? Maybe that item is like, I don't know, fuck me. My analogy is going down the drain because I'm already self explaining it. But it's more like it is a control of how you give them that positivity. You know what I mean? Like some people just want the positivity of, yes, I will be your yes man. I will tell you, yes, you are doing good. Yes, this, yes, that, right? And some people will be like, oh, you're actually trying to give me um, real criticism and, uh, what you see is wrong with my life or what is wrong with the situation that is causing me such strife. No thanks. I don't want that. I just want good vibes, dude. You know, does that make sense? I hope it does because I can't keep going back to this. Basically, we'll go ahead and summarize that whole area as well. I feel as if parasocial behaviors are not very good for the majority, especially if it is someone as an individual. And I feel like some boundaries are not respected. Like if you say, hey, I've tried to discuss this with you before, you have not taken my advice, or you have not made an improvement in a grand aspect that would warrant me giving you more attention or uh, emotional energy, right? I don't want to discuss it anymore, right? And then those people continue to discuss it more and more and more, right? I think that's a big disrespect. I think it's a disrespect of, the person who is basically lending that emotional energy to someone. Oh no. Let's go ahead and read the connection now. This is the connection, apparently. Connecting the dots, mimicry and parasocials. Mimicry and parasocial relationships. Fans might unconsciously mimic their favorite celebrities' mannerisms, speech patterns, or even fashion choices. I mean, I guess I didn't proofread this too good because, like, that doesn't really apply. I feel like I'm getting third knowledge, like, third party fucking knowledge. I feel like someone's telling me right now, did you know that Star Wars had a parasocial relationship in it? And it was pretty cool. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know, that's not what I'm discussing entirely. uh, Parasocial amplification effect. Social media can do this, blah, blah, blah. Discuss how mimicry can highlight the one sided nature of a relationship and how the importance of maintaining healthy boundaries. Let's talk about that. Healthy boundaries, okay? I think that goes for both. I don't know. It's kind of like bullshit, you know? I feel like, in the grand aspect, that mimicry can sometimes be a real fuck up for you, you know? If we're going with the whole parasocial and all that. Instead of celebrity, maybe we'll just use like the group leader or the group fucking powerhouses. You know what I mean? I feel like every group has a powerhouse, the main force behind it, and everyone else is kind of like the mini generators. They're like kind of there to chime in every now and then. Um, I don't know. If you are in the spotlight because you are a powerhouse in a group, I feel like maybe you will be reserved to that spot of what makes you that. So it's kind of like you have to play the role. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm getting sidetracked because I'm trying to like again. I'm just looking at the parasocial responses, and I'm like, oh, dude, this is flowing so well with the whole mimicry thing. Maybe I'll just continue with the parasocial. But when I go to read the parasocial, it's like, oh, by the way, did you know influencers and their fans are like fucked? And it's like, that doesn't relate to what I'm going to talk about, dude. It's really sidetracking me. I'll just switch back over to this one that basically is highlighting what I'm wanting to talk about. Parasocial relationships are one sided relationships, right? Emotional energy, interest, and time. And the other party, the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. How does that relate to like actual uh, friendships or people connecting with each other? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not as black and white. I don't think anyone should take that as like, oh, that's the big fucking issue then. It's obvious it was that from the very beginning. I feel like this is more of a, you know, this is a very extreme case of like dealing with someone who has narcissism. Maybe parasocial isn't even the correct word, right? But it feels like it's very close to that, you know? It's, I don't know. Again, I don't want to repeat myself, but that's how it is. It's just someone who can't generate their own happiness or own energy, right? And they have to like suck it from someone else. I guess like I guess the big difference is that at least in a mimicry kind of thing, it's almost as if everyone is contributing to the group energy. You know what I mean? It's almost like an opposite. It's almost like you are giving a whole lot of energy to each other. Although it may be a little bit of a weird, one, it's something where everyone kind of pitches in to kind of uplift that surrounding uh phrase or mannerism or anything like that. Uh Whereas the parasocial attitude is very much like only one side is benefiting from it, you know? I don't know. How do you separate that, I suppose? Like, how would you, the viewer, separate like a good parasocial versus a bad? You know, exactly what point does it become parasocial? You know, when does it go from like, oh, I'm helping my friend out who is a little confused and depressed about you know, their relationship with their parents, and when does that turn from like that to, okay, this person, um, I can't help them anymore because they are draining the energy from me. I think it's a lack of actual improvement. Like that is where I'm drawing the line. Okay, that's the Justy draw the line right there. Boom, draw the line right there in the middle. You have to make actual improvement in your life if you're going to be doing that kind of shit, you know? I'm not going to sit here and be like, "Oh, I'm perfect. I was always like a beacon of light or whatever the fuck," right? I'm sure there's many occasions where I have done that to people where I just kind of am like, "Ah, how do you feel about this? Can I please get some advice? Oh, what's wrong with my life?" Oh, and I just bitch and I bitch and I bitch and I bitch, right? With no actual improvement. I feel though as if I have improved, but I'm sure I have done that in the past. Um, but for like a lot of my behaviors where I seeked the attention of others or their advice or help, I feel like I have either there's like a big there's a big thing about it. You either accept it and you live with it or you make a difference, right? Because if you don't do either of those, then shut the fuck up. You know? Is this making any sense? I hope it is. But it's literally like you can't just keep listening to someone complain about the same topic with only slight variations. Dude, there's the connection. There it is, dude. Mimicry or brain rot as I like to call it, is a variation, but it's a positive one, right? It is something that you find joy in, and you can make slight variations to continue that joy, and it makes people happy, right? Or at least most people. Some people might find it annoying as fuck, right? But it is a joint effort to bring that happiness together and increase it rather than the parasocial view of it, of making slight variations of your trouble and not actually doing anything about it. You know what I mean? I think that's as best of a connection I can make between these two topics. Um, that's possible. You know, for me, I think mimicry is just very nice. You know? Maybe it's not like the best. I know that it's probably annoying, right? It's probably annoying for a lot of people. Like, especially if you're not in it, it can be annoying, you know? I suppose it just depends on the topic, you know? Is it something that everyone enjoys repeating or, uh, parroting around them? Or is it something that makes them fucking angry? Be like, man, I can't fucking stand this anymore. Like, I know that a running joke or phrase um, on my channel or my Discord is Pragey Huey Pragey, right? And for me, I can't fucking stand it. Like I'm not gonna sit here and be like I fucking hate it each time someone says it I want to leave the call. But it's like a joke that's been going on for 4 fucking years or something like that. Maybe not that long, but at least like 2 to 3 years or something like that. And it just won't fucking die, you know? And now there's like songs being made of it. And I'm supposed to clap my hands and say, wow, fan fucking tastic, dude. But for me, it's just fucking annoying, right? And maybe that's the negative side effect of mimicry is that that will, for me, it's just tiresome, right? I don't like it. But for me, I'm not going to make a fucking issue out of it. No, it's just my own opinion. I personally don't like it. It's just boring at this point. But that's whatever. I'm sure many people think the same thing when I say like a fucking catchphrase like spaghetti or something like that. They're like, shut the fuck up, dude. Say something new. I need to mimic something new, please. You know? um, yeah. Bonus talking points. How can we use mimicry to our advantage in social interactions? I think connecting with people, just simply connecting with people, is what brings it home, baby. Like, I don't know. It's such a boring topic. Like, I'm done with this already. I've talked to my bibble about it. Let's go back to parasocial, because that's more interesting. Because it's an actual connection, you know? I think mimicry is just like, you know, you just repeat what's off the top of your head, you know? You don't really need to really think that deep about it. You just be like, ah, oh, I'll just repeat this word or I'll develop this mannerism or anything like this. And that's it, you know? There's nothing much else to it. I suppose the only other thing that you could go about it is that it's like, you know, what part of me is the original part compared to what I have developed or learned from other people? Again, I don't know. The whole analogy of it being a group effort has really put that into perspective for me. It's no longer like, oh, it's just an individual's thing. Like there's some people where it is an individual, like someone will just say something and then they'll repeat it, right? Um but that's not really mimicry at that point, unless you count mimicking yourself, right? But if other people are doing it, they're having fun with it, then, you know, I don't see what would be a disadvantage of it. other than annoying some people. Like me, some things they annoy me, but you know, live and let learn and live, learn and live, let live, live, learn. You know. Sorry. Is there a difference between healthy mimicry and inauthentic flattery? I don't know. I don't care. You know. Difference between healthy mimicry and inauthentic flattery. Um that could be a good one. That could actually be a good one. I can make something out of that. Healthy mimicry would be like, I don't know. It's almost like if you did a good action or something like that, and someone was like, "Whoa, I'm really inspired," or I like that, I respect that, and I admire that, right? So they do that. They do that good behavior. I suppose it's kind of like the Mr. Beast videos or something, you know? Like if people saw him do, I planted 10 million trees or something, right? And then they're like, oh, I want to go do that. Maybe I can become popular from planting trees. That's at least some kind of positivity, you know? That's a healthy mimicry of like wanting to do good because you see someone do good and you want to replicate that behavior, you know? I think that's healthy. And authentic flattery. I think that's also a good, interesting topic, you know? Wanting to mimic someone simply to gain favor with them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you just learned a phrase and you started saying it without the true meaning behind it. It's kind of like if I don't know, there was some kind of fucking common phrase that other people are using in a group, right? And they're all laughing while they use it, and then you try and use it because you want to fit in, but you don't understand the true meaning behind it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I know that for me and one of my viewers, uh, that he will say my friend in copper stabber, right? I really just don't even fucking understand what he means by that. I think it's supposed to be like a reference to like just the old times when uh people would go into the mines together or something like that. I don't understand it fully, but I call him a copper stabber too, you know. And it's as if like we were both saying that to each other. Someone else chimed in and said, "Oh, yeah, you're my copper stabber," right? It would be like you don't know what that means, you know. But they're wanting to fit in, I suppose. How can fans cultivate a healthy parasocial relationship with their favorite media figures? Maybe instead of me just being like, fuck that topic, it doesn't relate to me, maybe I actually answered it, you know? So, how can fans cultivate a healthy parasocial relationship with their favorite media figures? Um, don't be too strong with it, I would say. Like, you can express interest, right? But don't express too much. You have to, I don't know. Maybe it's easier for guys because I would say it's very much like dating, you know? Express your interest, right? And if they don't reciprocate, don't push it, right? Maybe try and learn more about them, you know? Or, I don't know. Maybe set up the boundary of being like, these people probably will never connect with me in any realistic sense. Maybe I should just be okay with that, you know? I think that's a good one. I think that's good. That's something I'd like to talk about. Being okay with like not the best, you know? And I think I can apply that to the parasocial behavior one as well. It's like boundaries, you know? It's just boundaries. It's an acceptance of the position that you're in and being okay with it, you know? I don't know. To take it back to the parasocial, because we were just talking about that with like average day influencers or, you know, media figures, that's what it said, and yourself, um, I think we can take that and apply it to actual relationships between people, which is that you have to have a healthy boundary. And if people can't respect that, then it's obviously someone you don't want in your life. You know what I mean? Like, I guess it could be comparable to how people deal with it in real life, right? You see the creators online, right? That are like, I don't know, they'll post something and they get the really fucking annoying fans. They're like, oh, check out this art that I did of you. And also, I agree, we are like the best of friends, right? Um, those people usually get ignored, right? I feel like that's the same issue with like parasocial behavior, right? If you offload a whole bunch of that shit, if it's all just one sided and you take, right? Those people are going to slowly start fucking hating your guts. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, I don't care anymore. You know what I mean? So you have to set up that boundary of being okay with yourself and your issues, you know? I don't know. I'm trying to think of like myself, right? Putting myself into that position of being the negative, right? But as I think on it, I always just kind of think of how most of the time, if I am in that position, I try to make it a neutral, right? Like I can state my grievances, right? Without trying to push it on someone else and say, figure this out for me, and I won't take your advice, but just listen to them. Maybe it was all those times I possibly discussed my past uh, friend group with everyone else. Maybe that would be a good example of like me being parasocial, kind of relying upon other people to listen to my complaints. But then again, I've always felt like I don't, if anyone has any difference in that and they're like, actually, you were kind of fucking parasocial, bro. You were literally fucking sucking the energy out of me with this discussion. I always try and make it a point to not do that. I feel like each and every situation, I may like the utmost is I will state my grievances. I will state like the reason why I'm feeling down or something like that. But I will accept it. And I think that's the big issue that the negative people, the people who take from the relationship, need to understand. Um, and I'm sure, again, this is gonna be kind of mean, but I'm very sure that the parasocial people who are listening who do take from their friendships or relationship or family members, right? This will just go over their head because they're not in that mindset. But you have to be okay with your situation or you need to be able to make the difference, right? Like, I don't know how better to explain it than that. You have to be okay with your situation. You can't keep being upset about it. You have to be okay with it at some point. Because if not, you will be continuously exhausted until the day you die or until you find the actual resolution or an unlimited source of energy, emotional energy from someone, right? But I'm letting you know right now, you have to, like, what's a good analogy? I suppose it's kind of like filling a bathtub, right? And you're just not plugging the drain. You know what I mean? Or, yeah, yeah. We'll go with that, shall we? It's like a bathtub. If you have a bathtub, right? And let's say water is happiness, right? If you have your fucking little hole unplugged, right? Your happiness will go down the drain. right? Because you always are trying to be like, why is this happening? What's happening? You know? And you're trying to find an answer. You're trying to find some kind of help from someone else. People are coming by and they're dumping some of their water that they have into your bathtub to try and fill it back up, right? Because it keeps dropping down, it keeps dropping down, and there's no like stop to it. You know what I mean? And I guess this could also be compared to my other analogy of the leak has to stop, but like if people are still dumping water in there, right? Eventually they're gonna get tired of it. They're gonna be like, okay, well, I'm down to my last drop, right? Make it fucking count because I'm done, right? And they give that to you. And because you haven't learned how to plug the fucking hole, it just goes down the drain, right? But the thing is that if you plug the drain, you might not be getting water, right? But whatever amount of water you do have, you'll be satisfied with, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe if I just speak directly, again, it'll be better. But if, like, if you just don't find that point, then you'll continue to chase it forever, you know? You have to just be like, okay, this is how my life is. That's okay. That's fine. For the time being, it is fine. I accept that. I am willing to um not try and burden people with that anymore. This issue that I have. You know what I mean? Like you're not getting more happiness, but you're not losing it anymore either. That's like the best I can put it, dude. If you can't understand that, then I don't know. Maybe you just have to like keep on trying. Just stop burdening people. I don't know. Let me be clear with what I'm trying to say. Um don't ever feel like if you have a grand event happen in your life that is negative, like say your animal dies or a parent dies or you lose your job or you lose your house or anything like that, don't feel like that is something to hold back, right? But when you do bring it up to someone, imagine it like, I don't know, imagine it like a fucking timestamp or something like that. I'm trying to think of a good, imagine it like a bingo card or something like that, right? You've left the mark, the first impression, which is the most important, and you know it will generally not be the most important, right? But it is still the first mark. And just know that each time you bring it back up and you stamp it right, the ink is slowly running out in your little bingo bopper. Okay, listen, you gotta understand, okay? um just be wary, you know, that people will not be happy having to continue to hear the same situation without any improvement or change. You wouldn't watch the same TV show with no different twist. You wouldn't want to go to a baseball game where you knew that one team was always going to win. You wouldn't want to, I don't know, play a game that doesn't ever change. There's no variation to it. And there's nothing else that you can get from it, right? You wouldn't want that. So why would you expect anyone else to deal with that? Not to say your drama is entertainment for someone else, but it is something of interest. And there's only so many times you can repeat that before people lose that interest. They say, well, I'm done. I don't know. I'm rambling now. And I apologize for that, everyone. Um, I think that'll be the end of the podcast because I gotta render this whole thing out and be like, let's make something out of this. So, to sum it all up, let's go over the main points. We'll first start with the Q&A. Brain rot and how to morally disrupt someone. I think as long as you can make it something semi what is it? Semi relatable to them, right? You can increase the brain rot. You have to semi uh make it enjoyable. Get them in on it. It's almost like crack, you know? Have them taste it a little bit, have them maybe get hooked on it, and then you'll find it much more easy to kind of divert what they're wanting out of it, you know, and you can just be like, okay, well, now we're going to start saying banana each call or each time we talk. And whenever I say banana, you're going to also say banana because that's just how it is, you know? And I believe uh, as long as you take it like a small slope, right? The more fucked up you say stuff and you just kind of see the response and they have like an average response, the more you can get away with it, you know? Sometimes it doesn't work. Like maybe you'll say a slur or something like that, and people will just be like, nah, come on, man, you can't do that, dude. That's going to be your own kind of brain rot, right? It's your own brain rot that can still entertain other people, but you're not going to be able to get those people to join in because that is how high their moral is. They draw the line at that. They say, nope, ain't doing that. I'll laugh at it when you do it, but not when I do it. You know, I can't do that. So sometimes you can't really break the bar, but just know that you can at least worsen it. um, let's see what else. Mimicry. Mimicry is interesting. Let me scroll up. Hello? All right, I got a notification on my phone. Oh, on sale on my wish list. Whoa. um, The chameleon effect, of course, yes. Imitating behaviors, mannerisms, and even speech patterns. Um, I think that relates to the brain rot question quite a whole lot. Um, it's a little weird to kind of have it explained out in the open. I don't know. For me, it's kind of just like, ooh, well, shit, man. I guess we're all like brain dead monkeys or something like that. Uh, but at the same time, I feel like it's a community effort, you know? You can't really say brown, right? Without someone else saying brown as well. You know what I mean? Parasocial relationships. I've said a huge, decent piece upon that, and I'll go ahead and finish it with this. I'll do it for the positives and the negative havers, right? If you're a positive person and you're supplying other people with that positivity, make sure to set your own boundary no matter what people will say or how much they demand your attention. You need to set that boundary for yourself. Try and make it clear to them if you can. If you're not a little shy person, right? You need to make that boundary clear with that person and say, hey, this is where I draw the line. Especially if they continue to hint or to try and get you into talking about their issues, you need to make a very clear boundary and say, hey, this won't fly, right? It's kind of like you could compare it to talking about your dead mom or something like that. It could be like, this is very serious. Don't do this because this is going to ruin my entire fucking day, right? Just remember, you may be the positive one, but that doesn't mean that you have to give every amount of that to someone else, right? You have to have some for yourself. For the negative people out there, um, there, you know, you do have your issues, right? And no one's saying that you can't have those issues. And it's good when people can help you, but don't always expect that from someone else, right? And try and make it easy for them, right? To be like, hey, just letting you know, you don't have to talk about this. Don't feel obligated or anything like that. You know, I'm just discussing this and I'd like your opinion. Most importantly, I would say to the negative people, you know, who are feeling down, emotionally drained or anything like that, You need to work on those issues that you're having or become okay with them, right? No one wants to deal with your problems for the rest of their life. Like, you may have to deal with your own problems for the rest of your life, but they're your own problems. You should have to deal with them, right? That's just kind of how life is. No one's going to go in and take your problems away and be like, okay, you're free minded now. There's some topics that only you can solve. And to expect that from someone else is a little foolish, you know, though I can understand where you're trying to come from. But yeah, I would definitely suggest either working on it or becoming complacent with it and being like, okay, this is just what has happened. That's just how life is. But I believe that's it, everybody. Um, I think this was decent. Not as good as the anger podcast. I believe that was the last solo one. But I still think this is a very good one. I kind of went on a rambling there for a moment or two, but I hope that, you know, people were still able to listen in and be like, okay, I understand this. Gotcha, you know, or at least enjoy that rambling and be like, oh yeah, he's getting really juicy into this. He's pulling out all the analogies and all that. I don't know. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Um, but thank you very much. Be sure to listen to the other podcast episodes. I believe episode 32 is one that I have guests on, and we talk about. I think it was, what was it? I'm trying to remember. I think it was very much something to do with like just kind of the factors around life and how they can change who you are or something. I'm pretty sure I'm just pulling this out of my ass. I can't remember the last episode. um, but yeah, and be sure to check out the other episodes if you want as well. I know that I have quite a few. It's only recently that I've been able to use this AI bot to kind of help me script together some amount of structure to the podcast. Um, Most importantly, if you have any questions, any podcast questions, feel free to go ahead and leave them in the podcast question channel on my Discord server or comment it down below in the comment section. I appreciate it, you know. I love hearing your questions and thinking about them and all that good stuff. Um, I do plan on making a different podcast called Bibble Babble, right? And that will be a lot different than this. It'll just be casual talk, either on games, theories, all sorts of things. It'll be kind of a generalized podcast, right? Um, so be sure to keep a lookout for that, and maybe I will take a break from Within the Flesh to do more of those types of episodes. But yes, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Let me look at the stop streaming or stop recording button. Thank you. Uh, but yes, thank you all for tuning in. I love you. I appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day. Toodaloo and boo bye.